The purpose of the 2016 Movement Summit in the physical therapy profession was to bring together a large group of leaders in physical therapy profession that would help to provide input and recommendations on integrating this concept of a movement system into physical therapist practice, education, and research. And this concept of a movement system is essentially a collection of systems that work together in order to help the body move, mobility, do daily tasks. But more than that, it helps you to live your life. And the goal ultimately was to promote this movement system concept as the foundation for the future of optimizing movement to improve the health of society, which is essentially a paraphrase of the APTA vision statement for the future. The APTA vision statement has 8 core guiding principles, identity being the first and foremost of those principles. Importantly, because identity is really what defines us, how we define ourselves, and the world defines us as a profession. And inside the principle of identity, it says that our profession will define and promote the movement system as foundation for optimizing movement to improve the health of society, which is, again, a paraphrase of the vision statement itself. But more so than that, we need to be able to recognize and validate the movement system as we've defined it, because the movement system is essential to understanding the structure, function, and the potential of the human body overall. And as you can see from this, the movement system itself is really the core of which we base our practice, our education, and our research of in the future. Now, the big question is, how do physical therapists fit into this movement system that we've coined? Well, the PT is responsible ultimately for evaluating and managing an individual's movement system across their lifetime in order to promote optimal living. We diagnose any kind of impairment or limitation or restriction that person faces, like dysfunctions. And then we also provide preventative measures to prevent further dysfunction or any kind of dysfunction that we can reasonably anticipate. The PT also provides a unique perspective due to our education in what we define as the movement system, which is mobility, locomotion, what we are effectively trained in and educated in. The PT will also examine and evaluate the movement system, or evaluate the person and how they go about their tasks with movement analysis, for example. And we provide a very personal and customized plan of care in order to achieve each individual's own goals. Because at the end of the day, the patient's goals are really what guide our practice with that individual person. And lastly, we maximize each individual's ability to engage and interact with their environment. However they define activities of daily living, the things that they do most often, we need to be able to maximize that person's ability to do those things and provide interventions to might prevent them from not doing those things. So what would happen if all physical therapists were movement system experts and we were seen as such by our colleagues, the general public, and other stakeholders? Well, the scope of practice for our profession would grow substantially, obviously, but it would also help us in being recognized as professionals that don't just treat mobility-related dysfunctions, as I think we're kind of seen and categorized as now, but it would help us have the ability to identify and treat an even larger range of deficits and dysfunctions that a person might face in their lifetime that would prevent them from living their optimal life. And how would the patient-client management model that's kind of been the scaffolding for a number of years integrate with the movement system? Well, it would do so on almost every level, whether that's evaluation, examination, diagnosis, prognosis. It would integrate on every level because it's such a large concept that involves so many different pieces and components and systems. It would really be a component that you would have to consider at every step of the way. And the essential functions that should be considered as part of a standard movement analysis would ultimately be functional tasks. So evaluating gait, sit to stand, stand to sit, picking things up, reaching for things, and really focusing on both the gross and fine motor components of that.